Hey guys, welcome back. You are currently with me at my dining table because my plant room is in total disarray. It's website restock week, so there's bins of plants. There's just stuff everywhere. I cannot be in there right now. So we are here at the dining table. I feel like I blinked and we're more than halfway through November. I could have sworn it was April, and we're coming up to my favorite time of the year. And we're actually kind of like already in it because like the holiday stuff is coming up, but I love Christmas time, and I wanted to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, which is gift giving. I think my number one love language is quality time, but a close second is gift giving, and I put a lot of thought into my gifts. Like, I don't have a big family and I don't have a ton of friends, but I do. With every Christmas gift, my ultimate goal is to make you cry. To my knowledge, I've only ever had that happen twice, when I gave someone a gift and they were just so unexpectedly moved that they just burst into tears. And that's like the ultimate goal. But knowing that's not realistic for every single gift, I want to at least remove some friction from your life, or I'd like to treat you to something that you couldn't justify buying for yourself. And that's oftentimes things that like I couldn't justify buying for myself either, but I would like to give it to you as a gift. So I wanted to do like kind of a gift guide, but more than that, I wanted to talk about like kind of the philosophy of gift giving. So I have some gift ideas for the plant hobbyist in your life, but if you've ever like desperately looked at a gift guide, 99.9% of the time, they're not really that useful in getting you to buy a particular item on the list. So that is not my goal here. I'm not trying to sell you on a product, but I'm trying to maybe spark an idea in your mind. So I kind of agonized over this list, and I was trying to think of like, luxury things or like, pretty little things. And I decided to land on a list that's very function forward, because you can't really argue the function of these things for a plant hobbyist. So this is not for the person in your life that has like 2 snake plants and they water it twice a year. They probably will not find use or joy in any of these things. This is for someone who's like ordering plants in the mail, doing plant chores, that kind of thing. It's you and I. And then when I had my list, I looked at it and I was like, maybe these are not very like romantic things. They're not very aesthetically pleasing for the most part. They're not very gifty things. They're just functional items for the plant hobbyist. But then I was also thinking like it's all in the presentation. You could, do a collection of a bunch of small things, and it's the care that is put into this. Like, I see you have this hobby. I support you having a hobby. Hobbies are important. And I took the time to think about what you could really use in the hobby, and I got this for you. I don't actually know who this video would be for, because I can't imagine someone going on Google and typing like gift ideas for girlfriend plant related and Google would bring them to me. That's probably not going to happen. So I guess this video is more for myself, and because it's something I care about, and I want to remind everyone, like, everything is so crazy right now. Check in with your loved ones, remind them that you're here, that you love them, and that you're thinking about them. And that's basically the video. I'll start by saying that a wish list plant is always a good gift to give someone when you want to check off that box of like treating someone to something that they couldn't justify buying for themselves. So I wanted to get that out of the way, because we're not really talking about wish list plants today. While it is a good idea, I don't know, like, there's a million different possibilities. And we're also not going to talk about anything that is like there for aesthetic purposes. While they could be really nice gifts, there's also a million different possibilities. So I didn't really want to recommend you a really nice plant pot, because it might not fit the decor of someone's house, but that's also another good idea. And if I wanted to buy a really nice like handmade ceramic pot, I probably would be going to Etsy or something, or maybe like looking on Facebook Marketplace for something like a nice vintage big pot. And the pot thing is definitely a little bit risky, because unless you know this person really, really, really well, a pot is a very big and heavy thing that you're passing on the responsibility for to that person, and it can be quite a nuisance and have the opposite effect that you want with a gift. So we're going to leave all those like very subjective things aside. So I've broken this down into like under 50, and a lot of the stuff is like way, 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 way under 50, and then kind of over $50. And I'm using American dollars because I realize everything on here is available in the States. Like, if I were to buy some of these things, I'd have to order it from the States, and it's easier to get American pricing on these things. I'm going to start with something that actually I would personally really like, and I don't have one. I've been meaning to get one for a while, and that is a nail brush because I repot with my bare hands. I mean, I don't mind feeling like soil and stuff in my hands. If I'm gardening outside, I use garden gloves, but in indoor houseplant planting, I'm always using my bare hands. And I don't have long nails, but I always get like dirt underneath them, and I would really love a nail brush to make it a little bit easier to clean up myself after the repot session. And I did find one from one of my favorite stores. I love Lee Valley Tools. I feel like it's transporting you to another time when you enter Lee Valley Tools. Everything, I don't know if they're all like this, but the one like that I go to, it's like all wood inside. It feels like you're in the 90s when you're in Lee Valley Tools, but it's very clean. It doesn't feel like old and run down, but it kind of feels like it's run like a store would have been back then. It's not very like, there's no screens all over the place, and it's all like this DIY infectious energy. There's kits to like make your own corded Danish style stool. So I found this one from Lee Valley Tools, which comes in a pack of 2, and it has these little slits. So like you run the water over it as you're brushing your nails, which I thought was really good. And it's soft enough. They say that it can also be used as a vegetable brush. So you could buy a pack of 2, have one for a nail brush and one for like scrubbing your potatoes. This would be a great like little stocking stuffer. The next thing is a tool that I use every time I repot. I use it all around my house, but it's like not the same one. I have one for the kitchen, I have one for repotting, and that is a bench scraper. So if you're in Vancouver, I got this from the Gourmet Warehouse. This is from Snowcap. They're a food supplier, dry goods supplier. So I used to get these for free from the place I work. They would just like deliver and they just give you a bunch of these. But if you go to the Gourmet Warehouse, these are 99 cents. And you actually don't need the really nice bench scrapers. Like, I'll show you. This is my kitchen bench scraper that I use when I'm baking, but I actually wouldn't use this for plants because this is really gonna scratch up my potting mat that I'm scraping up. Oh, by the way, what I use it for is like, I'm just, cleaning my potting mat, scooping things. At the end of a repotting session, I'll just like put paper towel, like wet paper towel over here and use this to scrape my potting mat, get all the little dusty bits of dirt off. This would definitely scratch my potting mat, which is fine, but I could really gouge it with it. And I used to also, when I had exos, I would like spray it down and like scrape all the little bits of perlite and everything with my bench scraper. This I feel like would scratch the glass. So while this is much nicer and better made than this is probably more useful for a plant person. The next thing is a product that is so perfect for the Anthurium plant parent, and I'm so glad that this has gotten so popular, and that is Carson's pollen organizer box. So Carson is rooted on the peaks. He sent this to me. It is slightly customized. I don't have a logo or anything, but this is where he would have put my logo. I guess my logo is my pigeon head, but he 3D prints this out of Arizona, and it has 12 slots for the like regular version, and then there's like a even bigger version that I think has, I don't actually know how many slots it has. It's huge though. So the hobbyist edition, which is this one, has 12 slots for vials. The hybridizer edition has 36, so it's 3 times bigger than this. I don't see myself needing anything bigger than this one. So this size is $25, and it comes with the vials and the little reusable log, but you can buy extras of all of these if you wanted to. It comes in a few different colors, and the only thing it doesn't come with is a wet erase or dry erase, whatever you want to use, marker, which I don't have. So I actually don't use the log. I just keep a log in my phone notes. These have been so popular that I think Carson's super backed up on orders. So now is the time to order it if you want it by Christmas. But every now and then, someone in the hobby comes through with a product that's so perfectly designed for its use case. And it's not that a DIY version like did not already exist and was not already being used, and someone couldn't just like kind of put together a thing that would serve its purpose, but this just so perfectly fits the bill. And this has kind of removed this little friction in my life where I don't like collecting pollen. I think it's so annoying. And the most annoying thing was putting it into these like little tin foil, like wrap it up and like fold it, and knowing that that's not really airtight, putting it in a Ziploc bag and having it kind of just like float around in my freezer because it just doesn't really stay there. This, it's just so good. And you're supporting like a really nice person, a really lovely small business, and I just like I couldn't imagine a better use of $25 for a gift for an anthurium person. And I also wanted to mention his pot extenders, which are also 3D printed. They're stackable. They come in 3 colors and they come in a 4-inch and a 6-inch size. This would be obviously great for anthurium, but it wouldn't just be limited to anthurium. And again, it's not something that did not exist and it could not be DIY'd, but it just looks nice and it's very, very sturdy because with my DIY versions of just having my little plastic sheet where I cut little slits on and, you know, kind of make a little collar, it's not very sturdy. It has these slits on the side for airflow, but they're small enough that it could also be used with pon. The only thing with pon is that I think depending on how high you're stacking, eventually the capillary action of like the wicking ability it's going to be harder for the pond to wick water from like 12 inches down all the way to the top. But anyway, they start at $5 for a pot extender, but then it gets cheaper when you buy more than one. And then the last thing from Carson's shop, which I don't have it here with me, but his red crystallinum pin, which is really, really beautiful. I've shown it to you before, but I currently have it on my denim jacket. This would be the only thing on this whole list that is just like purely aesthetic, but I honestly would be so happy if I was given that as a gift, like a little, you know, Carson gift set, or I should say Rooted on the Peaks gift set. But again, I must stress that he's getting busier and busier with orders as these are getting more popular. And I think he's invested in more 3D printers, but I would get your order in as soon as possible if you want it by Christmas. Okay, the next under 50 thing is something I don't have. One I definitely would recommend. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of searching and relying on reviews, but a Bluetooth label printer. So this is the one I have. It's the Cutie with a Q brand, and it works fine. This thing, I don't know about other ones, but they go up and down in price like nobody's business. Sometimes it'll be like $20 and sometimes it's like $75. Never ever buy it when it's $75. It is not worth $75. The printer itself should be quite cost effective. It's the label tape that really gets you. So my recommendation would be to actually find one that is like made for a label tape that is a little bit cheaper, because one single roll of these things can cost $10, $11, which is just not really, that's not really right in my opinion, but they do last quite a bit of time. So it's a nice thing to get someone, especially if you can give them a few rolls of backup labels. One thing I should mention is I've used clear labels and I've used white labels. I much prefer opaque labels, doesn't matter if it's colored, white, whatever, because when it's a clear label, it can be really hard to see depending on the color of your plant tag. So it's something to keep in mind. But this, if you know that that person doesn't have one, this would be a really nice gift. And this just hangs on my plant cart. Okay, so the next thing is something that is like really nice to have and is not necessary at all, but I think a lot of people could not justify the cost of tree fern fiber. So if someone were to gift it to them, I bet you they would be really happy. So if you want it to be super extra, this will be above $50. But if you get them the 40-liter bag, which for me in Canada, I buy my tree fern fiber from Northern Gecko. I think they're in Ontario. So a 40-liter bag is $165. It's quite expensive. This is Canadian dollars. But if you're in the States and you just want to get a little bit, you can get a 10-liter bag. For me, a 10-liter bag would be $50 for a 10-liter bag, and that's Canadian dollars. So I think this is generally cheaper in the States if that's where you are. But if you want to go a little bit bougier, you can get tree fern that is like milled by Tazula. So if you get a bag of tree fern fiber from Fernwood, which is the one that comes from New Zealand, you'll get like lots of sticks, you'll get clumps and things like that. So Tazula's done the work of like milling it either fine or coarse, and it's a little bit pricier, but they can come in a variety of different size bags. So for a 1 gallon bag is $29.47 USD. That would be a really nice to have for an anthurium hobbyist. It wouldn't necessarily stretch very far, but it would be a really nice thing to have for, you know, maybe potting their most prized plants. While it is a really nice product, you can totally grow plants without it. So it's not a necessity by any stretch. It's just like a really nice to have. And I guess while we're on the topic of substrates, a little bag of Lechuzapon would also be quite welcome, I think, in any anthurium parent's house. The next thing I have is probably the least romantic thing I have on this list, and that is spinosad. So this is the spinosad that I use. I got this from the States. It is not available in Canada. I think this would just be for my American friends. I got this from a website called Seed Ranch, and this is the label if you want to take a screenshot. I've used a couple different spinosads before. I've used this one and I've used Captain Jack's, and I find this one to be a little bit more effective. And the thing is, like, we're gonna get thrips. Like, if you have plants, you're gonna get thrips at some point. The likelihood of you getting thrips is so high. I think this is worth it to have if they don't already have it, just for the peace of mind, knowing that if you were to ever get thrips, and some people also use it for spider mites, but I don't necessarily think it's all that effective, or at least it hasn't been super effective for me for spider mites. But this on thrips, like, it's a walk in the park. I spray it, it's probably gone on the first treatment, if not the second treatment. And it's such a small amount, like this is quite concentrated. So this will last you a long time. This could be split in half between 2 people and it would still last you for years, unless you have like a giant greenhouse, which most of us don't, obviously. So I looked this one up, and this one comes out to $47.77 USD. So in this spray bottle, I only put a few drops of this in. So this is gonna last me like my whole lifetime. Although I don't think this is good for a whole lifetime. I think it does expire at some point. Come to think of it, this would also be a good gift, especially if you're giving these two together. I got this in Vancouver. There's a place called the soap dispensary. You can just get these like amber bottles, and you buy the bottle and then you buy whatever thing on top that you want. So you could be a soap pump, it could be just like a screw top lid, it could be a spray bottle. I have an alcohol one, and then I have a spinosad one. This one says Captain Jack's, but this is not Captain Jack's in here anymore. It's this stuff. And then I have one for my all-purpose cleaner. I have one in the bathroom for my soap. You can also use the soap pump. I know Charmaine uses hers, a soap pump one, for her fertilizer. So the next thing is something that could be in both price categories, but it can be much less than $50, and that is my favorite thing ever, Great White. So I don't remember how much, because the price also changes on this all the time. It's way cheaper in the States. I guess they only sell it in a bag now and not this little shaker, which I really like the shaker, but a white 1 ounce bag of Great White on their website is $13.99. And then the jar, this is a 4 ounce jar, which will last you quite a long time, like more than a year for sure, is $35, so $34.99 on the Plant Revolution website. In Canada, this would go above $50, but this would be a really nice little thing that could last maybe up to a year, depending on how generously you use it. I think my first jar of this lasted me a year. But in case you've never heard of Great White, this is mycorrhizal fungi mixed with some beneficial bacteria and trichoderma, which is just there to inoculate your plant roots with the ability to like be more efficient in breaking down nutrients, be more pest resistant, be more drought resistant. I do think that it helps with transplant shock, and overall it helps you have a nice healthy microbiome inside of your substrate. And I honestly swear by this stuff, and I use it mainly, like I dissolve it in water and I water my plants with it every time I repot. And the first time you introduce it to your plants, you want to try not to add any extra nutrients, because there are studies that your plant is more likely to want to form these relationships through the roots with the mycorrhizae when they are a little bit hungry. So what they will do is they send out these root exudates that germinate the fungal spores. Now, whether this is a behavior that anthuriums do, I'm not really sure. All I can say is that I have noticed a big difference in just overall plant health, not just anthurium, ever since starting to use great white. And it's this little safety blanket for me. And I can't imagine growing plants without it, to be honest. So in the under 50 category, I guess this could go up above 50, depending on how many you buy. But I wanted to give an honorable mention to the square octagonal plant pots that I use, which I think a lot of people really like, is this one. I cannot tell you how many times I get this question, is where do I get my plant pots? And no matter how many times I say it in my videos or like put it in the description, I will get that question almost on every single video where a plant is shown in this pot. And I know that people want it. I cannot give you the source where I got the plant pots because this is not, I didn't get it from a shop. I got it from my friend Jing. So I can't be like, well, I got it from my friend Jing. Like that doesn't help you at all. So what I can say is that this all comes from China. So you can get it from like AliExpress, on Temu, search for square orchid pot, octagonal or bevel-sided orchid pot. The trouble is if you're getting it for Christmas, especially there's just over a month before Christmas, this will not come to you from China in that time. They're going to send it by ship and you're much better buying a lot of it. That's why most people don't do it. So I have heard in the States, there's a Etsy shop called Orchid Potting Bench, and I've never bought from them before, but a few people have recommended that place as a place to get this. Now you will be paying more per pot, but you're not having to buy hundreds of them and having to wait 6 months for them to ship from China. So that is the trade-off. They have done the work for you. But this is also something that I have also appreciated. I was recently gifted a bunch of these, like in this size and the little seedling size. And you know who you are. Thank you. I use it. There's no denying that this will get used. So I think most people who are growing anthurium will be able to use these pots unless you know for sure there's someone who only grow in opaque pots. I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that anthurium should grow in opaque pots. To me, the clearness of pots has enough benefits on its own that if there's any sort of like marginal difference in growth rate, I'm willing to take that trade-off because I want to see the roots. And also being on YouTube, like I kind of have to show you root growth and stuff, right? Like everything I had was in opaque pots. There's like less for me to talk about. So that's my personal take. All I can say is that there is clearly a lot of demand for this specific style of pot. So if you're buying for someone who grows plants and you know that they have at least a few of their plants in the pot like this, they will probably appreciate having some backups. And then for over 50, I don't have very many. I only have a couple. The first one is the LTH meter. This is by my friend Daryl, Houseplant Journal, and this measures light, temperature, and humidity. I'm gonna just turn it on. So here's the light sensor, and down here is the light reading. So this is foot candles, and you can change it to lux. It also measures temperature, so that's the current temperature in Celsius in my house, and that's the current humidity, which, what is it? 50%. Really? Humidity is not something I really think about, but this is really nice to have, mainly for the light function. Whenever I'm setting up grow lights, it's nice to just have a little quick check. Whenever I'm trying to diagnose light issues, it's nice to have a quick check. You can certainly get way more technical with light than this, but this is a really useful tool for anyone just to get a basic sense of the light levels that your plants are getting and be able to just kind of like tune in your ability to optimize light for your plants. So this is a really good learning tool. Sometimes I've used that light meter on spots and I'm surprised that some plants aren't burning despite having so much light. And then sometimes I'm like using it in a spot that I thought was pretty well lit, but turns out it's really not. And I'm surprised by how little light a given plant can survive off of. And then the last thing I wanted to add was a kind of like a bougie thing, but it would be really nice. Like if you want to get a really special gift, and I think this is probably more like of a significant other gift, and that is the Soltech Aspect pendant light. Honestly, even though I'm a Soltech affiliate, I genuinely would not be affiliate if I didn't love the product. And I especially love the version 2 of the Aspect, which is dimmable. That function is just such a nice addition and a nice upgrade to an already good pendant light. But the color temperature is very pleasant and you can adjust the intensity to suit your space, and it like visually looks nice. Another option would be the Vita, just the bulb itself, because also very bright, has the same nice color temperature, and the person you're buying for can use it on a existing fixture that is already in the space or suits their personal interior design style. The only thing is that the Vita standalone bulb is not dimmable, so depending on the distance between the light fixture and the plant, it might be too much. The last thing I wanted to mention, and I honestly was going to take this off the list, but I do think it's quite a nice gift. It's absolutely not a necessity, but it's nice Japanese shears. I think this was like a birthday gift for Charmaine one year. Our friend was at the store and she found these Japanese shears because I brought up Japanese shears. She happened to be at a store that had them. I don't remember which one it was, but she gave them, they're kind of like iron. They're really heavy and they're so freaking sharp. So I don't currently use like very high-end shears. They totally get the job done. But when I was cutting, like I was testing out Charmaine's Japanese shears, man, it just cuts through the stems like butter. So if you think about a really sharp kitchen knife, that is way more functional than really sharp plant shears. And the kitchen knife is very important to have a nice sharp knife, otherwise you might hurt yourself. But shears, not so much, but it would be really nice to have. And these tend to look quite nice, but the reason why I thought about taking it off the list is because I don't have a specific one to recommend. But if that's something you want to get, maybe you could kind of look through and explore that area. But Japanese shears are just beautifully made and like they just work very well. They genuinely work better than the cheap shears. And then the very last thing is an honorable mention, and it's not plant related, but it's for the plant person. This is something I thought of because I'm literally drinking it right now. And I kind of just recently discovered this. I know a lot of plant people are tea drinkers and it just really fits into this like cozy plant chore kind of like lovely part of our hobby. So I wanted to mention Yorkshire Malty Biscuit Brew. So we are a Yorkshire drinking household. When we're in the UK, we drink Yorkshire or Welsh Brew. We can't get Welsh Brew in Canada, so we're mainly Yorkshire Gold if it's on offer, or just like the plain regular Yorkshire tea. The Malty Biscuit Brew has been around for quite a while, but I just like I had my doubts about the flavor. Is it really gonna be like biscuit? Is it really gonna be malty? And I also thought it would have this very synthetic tasting kind of, you know how Starbucks flavored syrups has this very almost gasoline-y like stench, like it tastes very fake. To my pleasant surprise, it has the best. Honestly, when you brew it, this tea is pretty cold now. This aroma, when I smell this tea, it makes me swoon. It's so lovely. It definitely has a malty flavor, but the aroma, it's really hard to explain, but it reminds me a lot of milk oolong tea. The milk oolong is something I didn't know about for much of my life, but a lot of it is produced in Taiwan. And my boyfriend is a much bigger tea fan than I am, and he brought home milk oolong, and the aroma on milk oolong is just, I cannot explain. It's so nice. It's got this like very creamy, it sounds disgusting when I say it, but you just gotta trust me on this. This is a really nice tea. And I feel like this would be just like a really nice, if you wanna cutify any of this stuff, you know, have, I don't know, great white shears, little bench scraper, multi biscuit brew, put in a nice little box. I've been thinking of you. I love you. Have fun with your hobby. I think that would just be a nice little way to kind of round out the gift. There's also like a caramel biscuit brew, which I really do have my doubts about. I haven't tried it. I do think that caramel might taste and smell really synthetic. So I can confidently recommend the regular biscuit brew. Don't know about the caramel one. Anyway, that is my somewhat of a gift guide for the plant person in your life. I've never made a gift guide before. I probably will never make another one again. I also want to say, I probably should have said this at the beginning, that it's totally fine to not give someone a Christmas gift. But if you think it might cause problems in your relationship, now is probably the time to have that conversation with them and be like, hey, what do you think about like not doing gifts this year? now is probably, you know, getting about the time when you need to have that conversation if you haven't done so already. Charmaine and I had this conversation, I think this was maybe, no, last year. Last year was the year that we had this conversation. We're like, maybe let's, you know, stop with the Christmas gifts. Like, it's not really super necessary. It used to be really easy because like we were collecting plants like crazy. So it was really easy to just gift each other a plant, but we generally have everything we need. And she's got a kid now. And like it was totally a no fuss conversation. And everyone was really happy to agree to it. But you do kind of have to have the conversation if you already have kind of a tradition with that person of giving gifts every year, but it is absolutely fine to not give gifts for Christmas. And for myself this year, I really want to be super conscious about what I'm purchasing and not buying anything just for the sake of it. I do get a little bit carried away at Christmas time because I just become very hedonistic. Like I'm just in a treat yourself mode, treat myself, treat you, everybody gets treated. And I end up over consuming a little bit. And the thing about gifts is that like the act of opening a gift is obviously very pleasant, a really nice experience, but the object can like we acclimate to it very quickly, right? It doesn't really hold meaning unless there's a lot of thought behind it. And I guess that's the whole point of me making this video, is to kind of get that out there. While we all know that it's the thought that counts, but it truly is just the thought that counts, because the gifts that I've had that maybe on its own, like at face value, is not very meaningful, but knowing that that person put the thought into the gift has meant that it means so much more staying in my house. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have any ideas on gifts that you yourself would love to receive as a plant parent, or a plant related gift that you've given someone in the past that was a big success, please feel free to leave in the comments. I hope you guys are having a lovely, cozy Sunday so far. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.